Have you ever looked up at the stars and wondered if we are alone? Have you ever read ancient stories and asked yourself if they might be more than just tales? Tonight, we dive into one of the most mysterious books ever written. A book that was once part of the Bible, but was taken out. A book that tells us about beings from the sky who came down to earth. A book that might hold the key to understanding our past and our future. This is the Book of Enoch, and it tells a story that will make you question everything you thought you knew about angels, aliens, and the history of our world. Imagine this. Thousands of years ago, beings of incredible power descended from the heavens. They had knowledge that humans had never seen. They could build things that seemed impossible. They could fly through the air. They knew secrets about the stars, the weather, and how to make weapons that could destroy entire cities. But here is the strange part. These beings did something they were not supposed to do. They fell in love with human women. They had children with them. And these children were not ordinary children. They were giants. Giants so big and so strong that they terrorized the earth. Sound like science fiction? It might be. But this story is found in one of the oldest religious texts in the world. And the more we learn about ancient history, the more we find evidence that something very strange happened in our distant past. Were these beings angels who fell from grace? Or were they visitors from another world? Were they spiritual entities or advanced beings with technology we still do not understand today? The Book of Enoch might have the answers we have been looking for. The lost book that churches don't want you to read. Before we dive into the amazing story that Enoch tells, we need to understand something important. The Book of Enoch was once considered holy scripture. Early Christians read it. Jewish scholars studied it. It was quoted by other books that did make it into the Bible. So why don't most people know about it today? Why was it removed from the Bible? And why do some religious leaders seem uncomfortable when you ask them about it? The Book of Enoch is actually a collection of ancient writings. Most scholars believe different parts were written between 300 years before Christ and 100 years after Christ. But the stories it tells are much, much older. The book claims to be written by Enoch himself, and according to the Bible, Enoch lived before the great flood that destroyed the world. The Bible tells us that Enoch was special. In the book of Genesis, we read that Enoch walked with God, and then something amazing happened. The Bible says that Enoch did not die like other people. Instead, God took him. He just disappeared from earth. Where did Enoch go? The Book of Enoch claims to tell us. It says that Enoch was taken up into the heavens. There, he saw incredible things. He met beings of great power. He learned secrets about how the universe works. And he was told about events that would happen in the future. When Enoch returned to Earth, he wrote down everything he had seen and learned. This became the Book of Enoch. And for many centuries, people believed that this book contained real revelations from heaven. But as time went on, religious leaders became uncomfortable with some of the things the book taught. The Book of Enoch told stories that seemed too strange. It described beings and events that did not fit with the official teachings of the church.
Thank you.
So slowly, the book was pushed aside. By the time the final version of the Bible was put together, the Book of Enoch was not included. Some church leaders said it was not authentic. Others said it contained dangerous ideas. Still others said it was too hard to understand. But the book did not disappear completely. Copies were hidden away in remote places. Scholars continued to study it in secret. And in some parts of the world, like Ethiopia, the Book of Enoch remained part of the official Bible. Then, in the 1940s, something incredible happened. Ancient copies of the Book of Enoch were found among the Dead Sea Scrolls. These scrolls were hidden in caves near the Dead Sea for almost 2,000 years. When archaeologists found them, they discovered that the Book of Enoch was much older than anyone had realized. This discovery changed everything. Suddenly, scholars had to take the Book of Enoch seriously. They could no longer dismiss it as a late forgery. The evidence showed that this was indeed an ancient text that was once considered sacred scripture. So what does this mysterious book actually say? What secrets does it contain? And why were religious leaders so uncomfortable with its teachings? The Watchers, angels or ancient astronauts? The most famous and controversial part of the Book of Enoch is the story of the Watchers. According to Enoch, the Watchers were a group of angels who were sent from heaven to watch over the earth. Their job was to observe what humans were doing and report back to God. But something went wrong. The Book of Enoch tells us that these Watchers became fascinated with human women. The women were beautiful, and the Watchers began to desire them. This was a problem, because angels were not supposed to have romantic feelings for humans. The leader of the Watchers was an angel named Azazel. Azazel convinced 200 other Watchers to join him in a rebellion against heaven. Together, they made a pact. They would leave their posts in heaven and come down to earth. There, they would take human women as wives. The Book of Enoch describes how these Watchers descended from the sky and landed on Mount Hermon. This is a real mountain that sits on the border between Israel, Lebanon, and Syria. Even today, you can visit this mountain and see ancient ruins that some people believe were built by the Watchers. When the Watchers arrived on Earth, they appeared to humans as tall, powerful beings who glowed with light. They had knowledge and abilities that seemed magical to the people of that time. They could fly through the air without wings. They could start fires without flint. They could heal diseases that no human doctor could cure. But here is where the story gets really interesting. The Book of Enoch describes these Watchers in ways that sound very similar to how people today describe encounters with alien beings. The Watchers are said to have come from the sky in vehicles that blazed with fire. They had technology that humans could not understand. They could travel between the earth and the heavens at will. Could the Watchers have been extraterrestrial visitors rather than angels? This is a question that has fascinated researchers for decades. The descriptions in the Book of Enoch seem to match many modern reports of UFO sightings and alien encounters. Think about it this way. If ancient people saw beings with advanced technology, how would they describe them? They would use the words and concepts they knew at that time. Beings who could fly might be called angels. Vehicles that moved through the sky might be called chariots of fire. Technology they could not understand might be called magic. The Book of Enoch tells us that the Watchers had bodies that were similar to humans, but much larger and more powerful. They could appear and disappear at will. They could change their appearance, and they had lifespans that were much longer than ordinary humans. These descriptions match what many people today report when they claim to have encountered alien beings. The similarities are striking. Could the Watchers and modern aliens be the same type of beings? But whether the Watchers were angels or aliens, one thing is clear from the Book of Enoch. Their arrival on Earth changed everything, and not in a good way. Forbidden knowledge that changed the world. According to the Book of Enoch, the Watchers did more than just marry human women. They also shared knowledge that humans were not supposed to have. This forbidden knowledge transformed human civilization, but it also led to great evil and destruction. The book tells us exactly what kinds of knowledge the Watchers taught to humanity. Azazel, the leader of the Watchers, taught humans how to make weapons of war. He showed them how to forge swords, knives, and shields. He taught them how to make armor and how to fight in organized battles. Before the Watchers came, humans lived in small, peaceful groups. They used simple tools made of wood and stone. They hunted animals for food and gathered plants. They did not have large armies or terrible weapons of destruction. But after Azazel shared his knowledge, everything changed. Humans began to make weapons of metal. They organized themselves into armies. They began to wage war against each other on a scale that had never been seen before. The earth became filled with violence and bloodshed. Other Watchers taught different kinds of forbidden knowledge. One Watcher named Semjaza taught humans about magic and how to cast spells. Another Watcher named Barakijal taught astronomy and how to read the movements of the stars. A Watcher named Kokabel shared knowledge about the signs and portents in the heavens. Shazakiel taught humans about the clouds and the sky. Arakiel taught the signs of the earth. Shamsiel taught the signs of the sun. And Sariel taught about the courses of the moon. All of this knowledge sounds like science and technology to us today. The Watchers were teaching humans about astronomy, meteorology, geology, and other advanced subjects. They were sharing information about how the natural world works that humans were not supposed to know. But perhaps the most dangerous knowledge that the Watchers shared was taught by an angel named Gadriel. According to the Book of Enoch, Gadriel was the one who taught humans about cosmetics and jewelry. This might not sound very dangerous to us today, but the book suggests that this knowledge led to vanity, pride, and sexual immorality. Women began to paint their faces and decorate their bodies to attract men. Men became obsessed with the beauty of women. Sexual desire increased, and people began to act in ways that went against the natural order that God had created. The Book of Enoch presents all of this forbidden knowledge as a corruption of humanity. Before the Watchers came, humans were innocent and simple. They lived in harmony with nature and with each other. But the knowledge that the Watchers shared made humans proud, violent, and immoral. This raises some interesting questions for us today. Was the knowledge that the Watchers shared really evil? Or was it simply too advanced for humans to handle responsibly at that time? Think about our own world today. We have incredible technology that can be used for good or evil. We have weapons that can destroy entire cities. We have knowledge about genetics that can heal diseases or create terrible plagues. We have communication systems that can spread truth or lies around the world in seconds. The same knowledge that can save lives can also destroy them. The same technology that makes our lives easier can also make us lazy and disconnected from each other. Perhaps the Watchers were not evil for sharing their knowledge. Perhaps the problem was that humans were not ready to use that knowledge wisely. But according to the Book of Enoch, the worst was yet to come. The forbidden knowledge that the Watchers shared was only the beginning of the problems they caused. The real catastrophe happened when the Watchers began to have children with human women. The Nephilim. When giants walked the earth. The children born from the union between the Watchers and human women were not ordinary children. The Book of Enoch calls them the Nephilim, and it describes them as giants who terrorized the ancient world. The word Nephilim appears in the Bible as well. In the book of Genesis, we read that there were giants in the earth in those days. The Bible says that the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bore children to them. These children became mighty men and men of renown. But the Book of Enoch gives us much more detail about these Nephilim. It tells us that they grew to enormous size. Some of them were 300 cubits tall. A cubit is about 18 inches, so this would make some Nephilim over 450 feet tall. Even the smallest Nephilim were described as being at least 15 feet tall. These giants had the strength to match their size. They could uproot trees with their bare hands. They could throw boulders like pebbles. They could kill wild animals without weapons. And as they grew older and larger, they began to cause serious problems for ordinary humans. At first, the Nephilim ate the food that humans provided for them, but their appetites were enormous. One Nephilim could eat more food in a day than a whole village of humans could produce. Soon, the humans could not keep up with the demand. When the humans could no longer feed them enough, the Nephilim began to eat the animals. They consumed cattle, sheep, goats, and every other kind of livestock. They ate so much that they wiped out entire herds and flocks. But even this was not enough to satisfy their hunger. According to the Book of Enoch, the Nephilim then began to eat humans themselves. They became cannibals who hunted people for food. The earth became a place of terror where ordinary humans lived in constant fear of being devoured by the giant offspring of the Watchers. The Nephilim also inherited some of the knowledge and abilities of their Watcher fathers. They knew secrets about technology and warfare that gave them even more power over ordinary humans. They built great cities and monuments that required knowledge of engineering and construction that should have been impossible for that time period. Could this explain some of the mysterious ancient structures we find around the world today? Places like the pyramids in Egypt, the stone circles in England, and the massive temples in South America All required knowledge and technology that seems far beyond what ancient humans should have possessed. Archaeological evidence shows that these structures were built with incredible precision. The stones were cut and fitted together so perfectly that you cannot slide a knife blade between them. Some of the stones weigh hundreds of tons and were somehow transported from quarries that were hundreds of miles away. How did ancient people accomplish these feats of engineering? Traditional archaeology suggests that they used simple tools and human labor, but some researchers wonder if the builders had help from beings with advanced knowledge and technology. The Book of Enoch suggests that this is exactly what happened. The Nephilim, with their giant size and inherited knowledge from the Watchers, could have been the master builders of the ancient world. They could have supervised the construction of monuments that still puzzle us today. But there is another possibility. What if the Nephilim were not just the children of angels and humans? What if they were the hybrid offspring of extraterrestrial beings and humans? Some researchers have suggested that the Watchers were actually ancient astronauts who came to Earth from another planet. If this is true, then the Nephilim would have been human-alien hybrids. This could explain their unusual size, strength, and abilities. The idea of alien-human hybrids might sound like science fiction, but it is a common theme in many ancient texts from around the world. Cultures that had no contact with each other all tell stories about gods or beings from the sky who mated with humans and produced giant offspring. The ancient Greeks told stories about the Titans, giant beings who were the children of gods and mortals. The Hindus have legends about the Asuras, powerful giants who could fly through the air and had incredible technology. The Norse myths speak of the Jotuns, a race of giants who had supernatural powers. Native American tribes tell stories about giants who once lived on the earth. Archaeological discoveries in North America have uncovered skeletons of unusually large humans. Some of these skeletons were reportedly 7 to 9 feet tall, much larger than normal humans. Could all of these stories and discoveries be evidence that the Nephilim really existed? And if they did exist, what happened to them? According to the Book of Enoch, the situation on Earth became so bad that God decided to take action. The violence and corruption caused by the Watchers and the Nephilim had to be stopped, and God's solution was both swift and terrible. Divine judgment, when heaven declared war. As the situation on Earth grew worse, the Book of Enoch tells us that the remaining loyal angels in heaven became alarmed. They saw what was happening on Earth because of the rebellion of the Watchers. They saw the violence, the corruption, and the terror caused by the Nephilim, and they cried out to God for justice. The archangels, Michael, Gabriel, Surian, and Uriel, approached God's throne and made their report. They told God about the forbidden knowledge that the Watchers had shared. They described the giants who were devouring humans. They explained how the earth had become filled with violence and bloodshed. God's response was immediate and decisive. The Book of Enoch describes how God declared judgment on the Watchers and their offspring. The punishment would be severe and complete. First, God commanded the archangel Gabriel to destroy the Nephilim. Gabriel was told to encourage the giants to fight against each other until they destroyed themselves. The Book of Enoch describes great battles between different groups of Nephilim as they turned their violence against each other instead of against humans. But this was only the beginning of God's judgment. The Book of Enoch tells us that God also decided to cleanse the entire earth with a great flood. This flood would destroy not just the Nephilim, but almost all life on earth. Only a few righteous humans would be saved to start over. This flood, of course, is the same one described in the Bible in the story of Noah. But the Book of Enoch gives us more details about why the flood was necessary and what it was meant to accomplish. According to Enoch, God chose Noah because he was one of the few humans who had not been corrupted by the influence of the Watchers. Noah had not learned the forbidden knowledge. He had not participated in the violence and immorality that had spread across the earth. He was still righteous and obedient to God. God commanded Noah to build an ark that would save his family and representatives of all the animal species. But the Book of Enoch tells us that the flood was specifically designed to destroy the genetic contamination that had resulted from the union between Watchers and humans. The Nephilim were not fully human. They were hybrids whose very existence was an abomination in God's eyes. The flood was necessary to wipe out this corrupted bloodline and restore pure humanity to the earth. But what happened to the Watchers themselves? The Book of Enoch describes their punishment in detail. The rebel angels were bound with chains and cast into a place of darkness where they would remain until the final judgment. They were stripped of their power and cut off from heaven forever. Azazel, the leader of the rebellion, received special punishment. He was bound hand and foot and cast into a desert place where sharp rocks would torment him until the end of time. All the sins of humanity would be blamed on him because he was the one who first led angels into rebellion against God. The Book of Enoch tells us that even though the Watchers were imprisoned, their influence on humanity did not completely end. The spirits of the dead Nephilim became demons that continued to roam the earth and tempt humans into evil. This explains why, even after the flood, humans continued to struggle with violence, corruption, and the temptation to seek forbidden knowledge. The physical bodies of the Nephilim were destroyed, but their spirits remained active in the world. The flood was successful in cleansing the earth of the worst corruption, but it was not a permanent solution. The Book of Enoch prophesies that the problems caused by the Watchers would return in the last days before God's final judgment of the world. This prophecy raises some interesting questions for our modern world. Are we living in those last days that Enoch wrote about? Are we seeing a return of the forbidden knowledge and corruption that characterized the time before the flood? Some researchers believe that we are. They point to our advanced technology, our weapons of mass destruction, and our genetic engineering capabilities as evidence that we may be repeating the mistakes of the pre-flood world. Others suggest that the Watchers themselves may have returned. They point to the modern UFO phenomenon and reports of alien abduction as evidence that extraterrestrial beings are once again interacting with humanity in ways that echo the ancient stories. Whether we interpret these stories as religious prophecy or as ancient accounts of extraterrestrial contact, one thing is clear. The Book of Enoch describes events that have striking parallels to things happening in our world today. Ancient monuments and impossible technology. If the Book of Enoch is accurate, and beings with advanced knowledge really did live on Earth in ancient times, then we should expect to find evidence of their presence. And remarkably, we do find such evidence scattered around the globe in the form of ancient monuments and artifacts that seem impossible for primitive humans to have created. Consider the Great Pyramid of Giza in Egypt. This massive structure contains over 2 million stone blocks, some weighing as much as 70 tons. The pyramid was built with such precision that its base is level to within just 2.1 centimeters. The sides are aligned to the cardinal directions with an accuracy of 3/60th of a degree. How did ancient Egyptians achieve this level of precision using only the simple tools that archaeologists say they possessed? The official explanation is that they used copper tools, wooden rollers, and human labor. But experiments have shown that copper tools would be too soft to cut the hard granite used in many parts of the pyramid. Even more puzzling is the transportation of the massive stones. The granite blocks in the king's chamber came from quarries that were 500 miles away. How did ancient people move 70-ton blocks across hundreds of miles of desert without modern machinery? Some of the stones in the pyramid show evidence of being cut with tools that were far more advanced than anything archaeologists have found from that time period. The cuts are too smooth and precise to have been made with copper saws. They look like they were made with diamond-tipped tools or even lasers. The Book of Enoch tells us that the Watchers taught humans about construction and engineering. Could the Nephilim, with their giant size and inherited knowledge, have supervised the building of the pyramids? Their strength would have made it easier to move massive stones, and their advanced knowledge could explain the incredible precision of the construction. But Egypt is not the only place where we find impossible ancient construction. At Pumapunku in Bolivia, there are stone structures that show evidence of machine-level precision. The stones are cut and shaped so perfectly that they fit together like puzzle pieces. Some of the cuts are so precise that they could not be duplicated even with modern tools. The stones at Pumapunku are made of diorite and granite, materials that are extremely hard and difficult to work with. Yet ancient builders somehow cut these stones into complex shapes with angles and curves that would challenge modern engineers. How was this possible? The site is located at 12,800 feet above sea level, making it one of the highest ancient construction sites in the world. The thin air at this altitude would have made physical labor extremely difficult. Yet somehow, massive stones were quarried, transported, and fitted together with impossible precision. In Lebanon, there are stones at the ancient site of Baalbek that weigh over 800 tons each. These stones were somehow quarried, transported, and lifted into position in ancient times. Even today, we do not have cranes powerful enough to lift stones of this size. The largest stone at Baalbek weighs an estimated 1,200 tons and is still partially attached to the bedrock in the quarry. Ancient tool marks show that someone was in the process of cutting this massive stone free. But what tools could have been used to cut through solid rock to create a block of this size? Interestingly, Baalbek is located near Mount Hermon, the same mountain where the Book of Enoch says the Watchers first landed on Earth. Could there be a connection between the impossible stonework at Baalbek and the advanced beings described in Enoch's writings? Around the world, we find similar examples of ancient construction that seems to require knowledge and technology far beyond what primitive humans should have possessed. Easter Island in the Pacific Ocean has nearly 900 giant stone statues called moai. Some of these statues are 33 feet tall and weigh up to 82 tons. How did the people of Easter Island carve, transport, and erect these massive statues using only stone tools? The island has very few trees and no large animals that could have been used for transportation. Yet somehow, the statues were moved from the quarry to locations all around the island. Recent discoveries have shown that many of the Easter Island statues have bodies buried underground. The full statues are actually much larger than what we can see above ground. Some have bodies that extend 25 feet below the surface. This makes the transportation and erection of these monuments even more mysterious. In Peru, the ancient Inca built structures using massive stones that fit together so perfectly that you cannot insert a knife blade between them. The stones were cut and shaped without mortar, yet the walls have survived earthquakes that have destroyed modern buildings. The precision of Inca stonework is so impressive that it has inspired legends among local people. Some say that the Inca had a plant that could soften stone, making it easy to shape like clay. Others say that the Inca had help from beings who came from the sky and possessed advanced technology. These legends might sound like primitive superstition, but they echo the stories found in the Book of Enoch. Could ancient people around the world have preserved memories of a time when beings with advanced knowledge lived among humans? The evidence suggests that our ancestors had access to knowledge and technology that we do not fully understand even today. Whether this knowledge came from fallen angels, ancient astronauts, or some other source, it left behind monuments that continue to puzzle us thousands of years later. Global flood stories, ancient memory, or coincidence? The Book of Enoch tells us that God destroyed the ancient world with a great flood because of the corruption caused by the Watchers and their Nephilim offspring. This story matches the account of Noah's flood found in the Bible. But what makes this story even more compelling is that similar flood accounts are found in cultures all around the world. Over 500 different cultures have preserved stories about a great flood that destroyed most of humanity in ancient times. These cultures had no contact with each other, yet their stories share remarkable similarities. In almost every case, the flood is described as punishment for human wickedness. A small number of righteous people are saved, usually by building a boat. And after the flood, these survivors repopulate the earth. The oldest known flood story comes from ancient Mesopotamia. The Epic of Gilgamesh written over 4,000 years ago, tells about a man named Utnapishtim who was warned by the gods about a coming flood. He built a great boat and saved his family and many animals. When the flood came, it covered the entire earth and destroyed all other life. This story was written hundreds of years before Moses wrote the Book of Genesis, yet it contains many of the same details found in the biblical account of Noah's flood. The boat comes to rest on a mountain. Birds are sent out to see if the water has receded. The survivors offer sacrifices to thank the gods for their salvation. In ancient Greece, they told the story of Deucalion's flood. According to Greek mythology, Zeus became angry with human wickedness and decided to destroy the world with a flood. Only Deucalion and his wife Pyrrha were warned in advance. They built a chest and floated on the waters for 9 days until they landed on Mount Parnassus. The Hindus have a flood story about a man named Manu who was saved by the fish god Vishnu. Manu built a boat and loaded it with seeds and animals. When the flood came, Vishnu pulled the boat to safety on a mountain peak. From Manu descended all the peoples of the New World. In China, they tell the story of Gun Yu's flood. The flood was so vast that it seemed to reach the heavens. The Chinese emperor ordered Gun Yu to control the waters and save the people. Gun Yu worked for years to channel the flood waters and restore the land. Native American tribes across North America have flood stories. The Ojibwe tell about Nanabojo, who was warned of a coming flood by the spirits. He built a raft and saved animals and people. The Hopi tell about Spider Grandmother, who sealed righteous people inside hollow reeds to save them from the flood that destroyed the wicked world. In South America, the Inca told about a flood sent by the creator god Viracocha to destroy giants who had become evil and disobedient. Only a few people were saved in caves in the high mountains. After the flood, Viracocha created new people to populate the earth. The Aboriginal peoples of Australia have flood stories from different regions of the continent. They tell about a time when the Great Serpent caused waters to rise and cover the land. Only those who climbed to the highest mountains survived. What is remarkable about all these stories is not just their similarity, but also their specificity. They don't just describe local floods that might affect one river valley or coastal region. They describe global catastrophes that covered the entire Earth and destroyed almost all life. Skeptics argue that these stories developed independently because floods are common natural disasters that affect many cultures. But local floods, no matter how devastating, do not threaten all of humanity. They do not require divine intervention to save a small remnant of people and animals. The global nature of these flood stories suggests that they preserve the memory of a real worldwide catastrophe. And the fact that many of these stories connect the flood to punishment for human wickedness matches exactly what the Book of Enoch tells us about why the flood was necessary. But could a global flood actually have happened? Is there any scientific evidence for such a catastrophe? Geologists have found evidence of massive flooding events in Earth's past. At the end of the last ice age, about 12,000 years ago, enormous amounts of ice melted rapidly. This caused sea levels to rise dramatically and created massive floods in many parts of the world. Some researchers believe that the melting of the ice caps could have been triggered by a cosmic impact event. Evidence has been found for a major comet or asteroid impact around 12,900 years ago. This impact could have caused rapid climate change and massive flooding. There is also evidence that a large body of water called Lake Missoula burst through ice dams and created enormous floods in the northwestern United States. These floods carved out canyons and moved boulders the size of houses hundreds of miles. Could similar events have created global flooding that inspired the worldwide flood stories? Or could the flood have been caused by something else entirely? The Book of Enoch suggests that the flood was not just a natural disaster, but a deliberate act of divine judgment. If beings with advanced technology were really living on Earth in ancient times, they might have had the power to cause such a global catastrophe. Whether we interpret the flood as natural disaster, divine judgment, or technological warfare, the global flood stories serve as a reminder that our ancestors experienced catastrophes that shaped human history in profound ways. And according to the Book of Enoch, these catastrophes were directly connected to the presence of non-human beings on Earth. Parallel stories from around the world. The story of the Watchers and Nephilim found in the Book of Enoch is not unique to Jewish and Christian traditions. Similar stories about beings from the sky who interacted with humans can be found in cultures all around the world. These parallel accounts suggest that something very significant happened in humanity's distant past that was remembered and recorded by many different peoples. In ancient Mesopotamia, the Sumerians told stories about the Anunnaki, a group of gods who came down from heaven to earth. According to Sumerian texts, these beings had advanced knowledge and technology. They taught humans about agriculture, mathematics, and astronomy. But they also created hybrid beings by mixing their essence with human women. The Sumerian king list describes rulers who lived for thousands of years before a great flood destroyed the ancient world. These long-lived kings were said to be descendants of the Anunnaki. After the flood, human lifespans became much shorter, suggesting that the genetic influence of the Anunnaki was diluted or removed. The parallels between the Anunnaki and the Watchers are striking. Both groups are described as beings from heaven who came to Earth. Both shared forbidden knowledge with humans. Both created hybrid offspring, and both were connected to a great flood that reset human civilization. In ancient Egypt, they told stories about the Neteru, divine beings who ruled Egypt in the distant past. According to Egyptian texts, these beings had the bodies of humans, but were much larger and more powerful. They had lifespans of thousands of years and possessed knowledge that seemed magical to ordinary humans. The Egyptian priest Manetho wrote about a time when gods ruled directly on Earth. He said that these divine beings eventually withdrew from direct rule, but continued to influence human affairs through their hybrid offspring. This matches the pattern described in the Book of Enoch, where the Watchers were bound and imprisoned, but their Nephilim children continued to affect the world. In ancient Greece, they preserved stories about the Titans, a race of giant beings who were the children of gods and mortals. The Titans were described as incredibly powerful and knowledgeable, but also rebellious and dangerous. They were eventually defeated by the younger gods and imprisoned in Tartarus, a place of darkness and punishment. The Greek historian Hesiod wrote about different ages of humanity. He described a golden age when gods and humans lived together peacefully. But this was followed by ages of increasing corruption and violence, leading to catastrophes that destroyed most of humanity. Only small groups of survivors remained to start new civilizations. Hindu scriptures contain detailed accounts of beings called the Asuras, who possessed flying vehicles called Vimanas. These texts describe aerial battles between different groups of these beings, using weapons that sound very much like modern technology. The Mahabharata contains descriptions of weapons that could destroy entire cities and create mushroom clouds that rise into the sky. The Hindu texts also describe the Nagas, serpent-like beings who possessed great knowledge and lived both on earth and in underground realms. These beings were said to interact with humans and sometimes mate with them, creating hybrid offspring with unusual abilities. In Norse mythology, they told stories about the Aesir, gods who came to Earth from Asgard, their home in the sky. The Aesir were described as tall, powerful beings who had advanced knowledge and technology. They built great halls and bridges that connected Earth to the heavens. The Norse also told about the Jotuns, a race of giants who were often in conflict with both gods and humans. Some of these giants were the offspring of gods and human women. The Norse myths describe an eventual battle called Ragnarok that would destroy the current world and lead to the creation of a new one. In the Americas, Native American tribes preserved stories about star people who came down from the sky in ancient times. These beings were described as tall and luminous, with knowledge about the stars and the natural world. They taught humans about agriculture, medicine, and spiritual practices. The Hopi tribe tells about the Kachinas, spiritual beings who lived with humans during the early times of this world. The Kachinas had the ability to fly and possessed knowledge that helped humans survive. But eventually, the Kachinas withdrew from direct contact with humans because of increasing corruption and conflict. Mayan texts describe the Kukulkan, feathered serpent beings who came from the stars and established the first Mayan civilization. These beings were said to possess incredible knowledge about mathematics, astronomy, and architecture. They taught the Maya how to build pyramids and calculate the movements of planets and stars with amazing accuracy. The Aztecs told similar stories about Quetzalcoatl, a feathered serpent god who brought knowledge and civilization to humanity. According to Aztec legend, Quetzalcoatl was eventually forced to leave Earth, but promised to return in the future. In South America, the Inca preserved stories about Viracocha, a creator god who emerged from Lake Titicaca after a great flood. Viracocha was described as a tall, bearded figure who traveled throughout the land teaching humans about agriculture and civilization. He had the power to split mountains and create rivers with his words. What is remarkable about all these stories is their consistency across cultures that had no contact with each other. The same basic elements appear again and again: beings from the sky or stars, advanced knowledge and technology, hybrid offspring, increasing corruption and violence, and eventual catastrophe or withdrawal of the divine beings. This consistency suggests that these stories are not mere mythology or fantasy. They may be cultural memories of real events that happened in humanity's distant past. The Book of Enoch provides one of the most detailed accounts of these events, but it is clearly part of a much larger pattern of human memory about our origins and early history. Modern UFO encounters, ancient visitors. Returning. Since the 1940s, reports of unidentified flying objects have increased dramatically around the world. Thousands of people claim to have seen strange craft in the sky that move in ways no earthly technology can explain. But what makes these modern reports particularly interesting is how similar they are to the ancient accounts found in texts like the Book of Enoch. Modern witnesses describe seeing objects that glow with bright light, just as the Book of Enoch describes the Watchers appearing as beings of light when they descended from heaven. These objects are reported to move silently through the air, changing direction instantly and accelerating to impossible speeds. People who claim to have encountered the occupants of these craft describe beings that are taller than ordinary humans and possess advanced knowledge and technology. These beings are often said to have large eyes and pale skin, and they communicate through telepathy rather than spoken words. But perhaps most significantly, many people who report close encounters with these beings claim that the beings are interested in human genetics and reproduction. Thousands of people around the world report being taken aboard craft where medical procedures are performed on them, often involving the collection of genetic material. Some people report being told by these beings that they are creating hybrid children who combine human and alien genetics. This is remarkably similar to what the Book of Enoch tells us about the Watchers mating with human women to produce the Nephilim. Could the beings described in modern UFO reports be the same type of entities that our ancestors called the Watchers? Are we witnessing the return of the non-human intelligences that interacted with humanity in ancient times? The patterns are certainly similar. Ancient accounts describe beings from the sky who possessed advanced technology, shared forbidden knowledge, and created hybrid offspring. Modern accounts describe beings from the sky who possess advanced technology, claim to be conducting genetic experiments, and are allegedly creating hybrid children. Some researchers have suggested that the ancient gods, angels, and demons described in religious texts were actually extraterrestrial visitors who have been monitoring and influencing human development for thousands of years. According to this theory, what we call UFOs are simply the modern manifestation of an ongoing extraterrestrial presence on Earth. This would explain why ancient texts contain descriptions of flying objects, advanced technology, and beings with knowledge far beyond what primitive humans should have possessed. It would also explain why similar stories appear in cultures all around the world that had no contact with each other. But there is another possibility. What if the beings described in both ancient and modern accounts are not extraterrestrials at all, but interdimensional entities that exist alongside our physical reality. Some researchers suggest that what we call angels, demons, and alien beings might all be the same type of entities viewed from different cultural perspectives. These beings might exist in dimensions that normally remain invisible to us, but they have the ability to manifest in our physical reality when they choose to do so. This interdimensional theory could explain why UFOs seem to appear and disappear suddenly, why they can move in ways that violate our understanding of physics, and why encounters with these beings often have a dreamlike or supernatural quality. The Book of Enoch describes the Watchers as existing in the heavenly realms before they chose to descend to Earth. These heavenly realms might not be physical locations in space, but rather different dimensions of reality that exist parallel to our own physical world. Whether we interpret these encounters as extraterrestrial or interdimensional phenomena, one thing is clear: the modern UFO phenomenon shares remarkable similarities with ancient accounts of non-human beings interacting with humanity. Government disclosure of UFO information in recent years has confirmed that unknown craft with advanced capabilities have been observed by military personnel around the world. These craft demonstrate technology that is far beyond what any known human civilization possesses. Videos released by the US Pentagon show objects moving at incredible speeds, making impossible turns, and demonstrating capabilities that seem to defy our understanding of physics and engineering. These are not just isolated incidents reported by unreliable witnesses, but documented encounters recorded by military sensors and witnessed by trained personnel. The question is no longer whether something unusual is happening in our skies. The question is what these phenomena represent and what their intentions might be regarding humanity. If the Book of Enoch provides an accurate historical account, then we know that previous interactions between non-human intelligences and humanity did not end well. The result was corruption, violence, and ultimately divine judgment in the form of a global flood. Are we headed for a similar outcome? Are the modern UFO encounters a sign that we are approaching another period of direct intervention by non-human beings? And if so, what does this mean for the future of human civilization? Technology and knowledge beyond their time. One of the most compelling aspects of the Book of Enoch is its detailed description of advanced knowledge that the Watchers taught to humanity. This knowledge included subjects that would not be rediscovered by mainstream science until thousands of years later. How could ancient people have known about these advanced concepts unless they were taught by beings who possessed superior understanding? The Book of Enoch describes astronomical knowledge that was incredibly sophisticated for its time. Enoch writes about the movements of the sun, moon, and stars with a level of detail that suggests mathematical precision. He describes the calendar year as containing exactly 364 days, divided into 4 seasons of 91 days each. This calendar system shows an understanding of astronomical cycles that required careful observation and calculation. But how could ancient people have developed such precise knowledge without advanced instruments for measuring celestial movements? The book also contains detailed descriptions of meteorological phenomena. Enoch writes about the causes of lightning, thunder, rain, and snow in ways that demonstrate understanding of atmospheric processes that were not officially discovered by science until much later. One of the most intriguing passages in the Book of Enoch describes how certain angels taught humans about the cutting of roots and the power of enchantments. Some researchers believe this could be referring to chemistry and pharmacology, the knowledge of how to extract active compounds from plants and use them for healing or other purposes. Ancient texts from many cultures describe medicines and procedures that seem surprisingly advanced. The Edwin Smith Papyrus from ancient Egypt contains surgical procedures that demonstrate detailed knowledge of anatomy and medical techniques. The ancient Indians performed cataract surgery and plastic surgery procedures that were not redeveloped in the West until the modern era. How did ancient people develop such sophisticated medical knowledge? The Book of Enoch suggests that this knowledge was taught to humans by non-human beings who understood the workings of the physical body in ways that humans had not yet discovered on their own. Archaeological discoveries continue to reveal evidence of advanced ancient technologies that challenge our assumptions about the capabilities of early civilizations. In Iraq, archaeologists have found what appear to be ancient batteries, clay jars containing copper cylinders and iron rods that could generate electrical current when filled with an acidic solution. What would ancient people have used electricity for? Some researchers suggest that electrical current might have been used in metal plating processes, which could explain the high quality of some ancient metalwork. Others speculate that electricity might have been used for lighting, which could explain how ancient artists created detailed paintings and carvings in deep, dark caves and tunnels. In Central and South America, archaeologists have discovered ancient artifacts that appear to be models of flying machines. These gold figurines have aerodynamic designs with features that look remarkably like modern aircraft, complete with what appear to be cockpits, wings, and tail rudders. When engineers have tested scaled-up versions of these ancient designs in wind tunnels, they find that the objects have excellent flight characteristics. Some of the designs are so aerodynamically sophisticated that they seem to represent knowledge of advanced principles of flight. Could these artifacts be evidence that ancient people had knowledge of aviation technology? The Book of Enoch describes the Watchers as beings who could fly through the air and travel between Earth and the heavenly realms. If the Watchers shared this knowledge with humans, it could explain why ancient cultures around the world preserved stories about flying machines and aerial vehicles. Ancient texts from India contain remarkably detailed descriptions of flying vehicles called Vimanas. The Vaimanika Shastra provides technical specifications for different types of aerial vehicles, including their construction materials, propulsion systems, and navigation methods. These descriptions include details about metals and alloys that would be suitable for aircraft construction, methods for creating different types of propulsion, and even defensive systems that could make the vehicles invisible to enemies. The level of technical detail suggests that these were not mere fantasy vehicles, but descriptions of actual technology. The ancient Indian epic, the Mahabharata, describes aerial battles between different groups, using advanced weapons and vehicles. Some of the weapons described sound very similar to modern military technology, including missiles that could seek out specific targets and weapons that could destroy entire armies. One particular weapon described in the Mahabharata is called the Brahmastra. This weapon was said to create a bright flash of light, followed by a mushroom-shaped cloud that rose into the sky. The text describes how areas affected by this weapon became uninhabitable, and people in those areas developed symptoms that sound very much like radiation sickness. Could the ancient Indians have had access to nuclear technology? Archaeological evidence from sites like Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro in the Indus Valley show signs of sudden destruction and unusually high levels of radiation. Some researchers have suggested that these ancient cities might have been destroyed by advanced weapons rather than natural disasters. The Book of Enoch tells us that the knowledge taught by the Watchers included the making of weapons and the arts of war. If beings with advanced technology really did share their knowledge with ancient humans, it could explain how ancient civilizations might have had access to weapons and technologies that seem impossible for their time period. But this raises important questions about the nature and intentions of the beings who shared this knowledge. The Book of Enoch presents the sharing of advanced technology as a corruption of humanity rather than a gift. The text suggests that humans were not ready to handle such powerful knowledge responsibly. Are we facing similar challenges today? Our modern technology gives us incredible power over nature and over each other. We have weapons that can destroy all life on Earth. We have the ability to manipulate genetics and create new forms of life. We have artificial intelligence that may soon surpass human intelligence. Like the ancient humans described in the Book of Enoch, we may be gaining knowledge and power faster than we are gaining the wisdom to use them responsibly. The question is whether we will learn to handle our advanced technology better than our ancestors did, or whether we are destined to repeat their mistakes. The genetic manipulation connection. One of the most controversial aspects of the Book of Enoch is its description of genetic mixing between the Watchers and human women. This concept of genetic manipulation and hybrid creation was considered so disturbing that it may have been one of the main reasons the book was removed from the Bible. But modern developments in genetic science have given us new ways to understand what these ancient texts might have been describing. The Book of Enoch tells us that the Nephilim were not created through normal reproduction, but through a process that mixed the essence or seed of the Watchers with human women. The result was offspring that were neither fully human nor fully like their non-human fathers, but something entirely new. Today, we understand that genetic information is carried in DNA, and that characteristics from both parents are combined to create offspring with mixed traits. We also know that it is possible to artificially manipulate genes to create organisms with desired characteristics. Scientists have successfully created hybrid animals by combining genetic material from different species. They have inserted human genes into animals to create creatures that produce human proteins. They have even created chimeras, organisms that contain cells from multiple different species within the same body. Could the Nephilim described in the Book of Enoch have been ancient genetic hybrids created through similar processes? If the Watchers possessed advanced knowledge of genetics, they might have been able to create hybrid offspring through artificial means rather than natural reproduction. This would explain some of the unusual characteristics attributed to the Nephilim. Their giant size, extraordinary strength, and long lifespans could have resulted from genetic modifications that enhanced normal human traits. Their inherent knowledge and abilities might have come from genetic programming that gave them access to information stored in their DNA. Modern reports of alien abduction often include descriptions of genetic procedures being performed on human subjects. Abductees report having genetic material collected, and some claim to have been shown hybrid children that combine human and alien characteristics. Could these modern reports be describing the same type of genetic experimentation that the Book of Enoch attributes to the ancient Watchers? Are we witnessing a continuation or resumption of genetic manipulation programs that began thousands of years ago? Some researchers have suggested that the human species itself shows evidence of genetic manipulation in its distant past. Humans are remarkably different from other primates in ways that are difficult to explain through normal evolutionary processes. Human DNA contains sequences that appear to have been inserted rather than evolved naturally. Some of these sequences are not found in any other Earth species, leading some scientists to speculate that they might have come from an external source. Human beings also possess capabilities that seem far beyond what would be necessary for survival in a primitive environment. Our brains are much larger and more complex than what would be needed for basic survival functions. Our capacity for abstract thinking, creativity, and spiritual awareness seems to suggest that we were designed for purposes beyond simple biological existence. The Book of Enoch tells us that humans were created to be pure and innocent, living in harmony with nature and with their Creator. But the intervention of the Watchers corrupted this original design and introduced genetic and spiritual contamination that changed the nature of humanity itself. Could modern genetic engineering represent a return to the same type of corruption that occurred in ancient times? Are we in danger of repeating the mistakes that led to divine judgment in the form of the Great Flood? Today, scientists are working on projects that would have seemed like science fiction just a few decades ago. They are creating new forms of life in laboratories. They are editing human genes to eliminate diseases and enhance capabilities. They are developing artificial intelligence that could eventually surpass human intelligence. Some researchers are even working on projects to extend human lifespan indefinitely or to merge human consciousness with computer systems. These developments echo the forbidden knowledge that the Book of Enoch says the Watchers shared with ancient humans. The question is whether we are wise enough to handle these powerful technologies responsibly, or whether we are headed for the same type of corruption and judgment that befell the antediluvian world described in Enoch's writings. Religious leaders who take the Book of Enoch seriously warn that genetic manipulation and the attempt to transcend natural human limitations are violations of divine law that will eventually lead to judgment. They point to the increasing violence, immorality, and chaos in the modern world as evidence that we are already experiencing the consequences of technological advancement without spiritual wisdom. Others argue that genetic engineering and advanced technology are tools that can be used for good or evil, depending on the intentions and wisdom of those who wield them. They suggest that we can avoid the mistakes of the past by ensuring that technological development is guided by ethical principles and concern for human welfare. But the Book of Enoch raises a troubling possibility. What if the drive to genetic manipulation and technological transcendence is not entirely human in origin? What if we are being influenced by the same non-human intelligences that corrupted humanity in ancient times? The book tells us that even though the Watchers were bound and imprisoned after the flood, their influence continued through the spirits of their Nephilim offspring. These spirits were said to roam the earth and continue to corrupt humans by encouraging them to seek forbidden knowledge and power. Could the rapid advancement of genetic engineering and artificial intelligence in recent decades be the result of such spiritual influence? Are we being guided toward a repetition of ancient mistakes by entities that want to see humanity corrupted once again? These are difficult questions that touch on fundamental issues of human nature, spiritual reality, and our destiny as a species. The Book of Enoch does not provide easy answers, but it does offer a framework for understanding our current situation in the context of an ancient pattern of non-human intervention in human affairs. Signs and prophecies for the end times. The Book of Enoch is not just a historical account of ancient events. It also contains detailed prophecies about the end times and the eventual fate of both humanity and the rebellious Watchers. These prophecies describe signs and events that many readers believe are being fulfilled in our modern world. According to Enoch, the corruption that began with the Watchers would not be permanently eliminated by the flood. Instead, it would return in the last days before God's final judgment of the world. The book describes a time when wickedness would again fill the earth, when violence would increase, and when humans would once again seek after forbidden knowledge. Enoch prophesies that in the last days, people would become lovers of themselves rather than lovers of God. They would be proud, boastful, and disobedient to authority. They would pursue pleasure and material wealth while neglecting spiritual truth and moral responsibility. Many readers of the Book of Enoch believe that these conditions accurately describe our modern world. Never before in history have humans possessed such power over nature and such access to information and technology. Yet many societies are experiencing increasing levels of violence, corruption, and moral decay. The book also prophesies that knowledge would be greatly increased in the last days. People would travel rapidly from place to place and communicate instantly across great distances. They would possess weapons of incredible destructive power and would have the ability to manipulate the very building blocks of life itself. These Prophecies seem to match developments in our modern world with remarkable accuracy. We do indeed live in an age of rapidly expanding knowledge and technology. We can travel around the world in hours rather than months. We can communicate instantly with people on the other side of the planet. We possess nuclear weapons that can destroy entire cities and genetic engineering techniques that can modify living organisms. But perhaps most significantly, the Book of Enoch prophesies that the Watchers themselves would return in the last days. The book suggests that these beings would once again make contact with humanity and would resume their program of genetic manipulation and technological corruption. Could the modern UFO phenomenon be evidence that this prophecy is being fulfilled? Are the beings described in contemporary encounter reports the same entities that the Book of Enoch calls the Watchers? Many people who study both ancient texts and modern UFO reports believe that the parallels are too striking to be coincidental. Both ancient and modern accounts describe beings from the sky who possess advanced technology, who are interested in human genetics, and who seem to be conducting long-term programs of interaction with humanity. The Book of Enoch also contains prophecies about specific astronomical events that would mark the approach of the end times. The book describes unusual celestial phenomena, changes in the regular courses of the sun and moon, and the appearance of signs in the heavens that would announce the coming judgment. Some researchers believe that these astronomical prophecies are being fulfilled through phenomena like increased solar activity, unusual planetary alignments, and the discovery of new celestial objects in our solar system. They point to recent changes in Earth's magnetic field and climate as evidence that we are experiencing the cosmic disturbances that Enoch predicted. According to the Book of Enoch, the end times will culminate in a final battle between the forces of good and evil. This battle will involve not just human armies, but also spiritual beings, including angels, demons, and the returned Watchers. The outcome will determine the fate of both humanity and the rebellious angels. The book describes how God will send the Archangel Michael to lead the forces of heaven against the rebellious Watchers and their allies. This final confrontation will result in the complete defeat of evil and the establishment of God's kingdom on earth. But before this final victory, the book warns of a period of great tribulation when the forces of evil will seem to triumph temporarily. During this time, the returned Watchers will use their advanced technology and knowledge to deceive many people and establish a global system of control. People will be forced to choose between serving the rebellious Watchers and their human allies, or remaining faithful to God despite persecution and hardship. Those who choose to serve the Watchers will receive temporary benefits, but will ultimately face eternal judgment. Those who remain faithful to God will suffer in the short term, but will be saved when the final judgment arrives. The Book of Enoch emphasizes that this final period of testing is necessary to separate those who truly belong to God from those who are willing to be corrupted by the promise of power and knowledge. The same choice that faced humanity in the days before the flood will face humanity again in the last days. These prophecies raise important questions for people living in our modern world. If the Book of Enoch is accurate, and if we are indeed living in the prophesied end times, then how should we respond to the increasing presence of advanced technology and claims of contact with non-human intelligences? Should we embrace these developments as signs of human progress and evolution? Or should we be cautious about accepting help and knowledge from beings whose ultimate intentions may not be benevolent? The Book of Enoch suggests that the key to navigating these challenging times is to maintain spiritual discernment and moral integrity. People must learn to distinguish between genuine spiritual truth and deceptive counterfeits. They must be willing to reject offers of power and knowledge that come with spiritual compromise. Most importantly, the book emphasizes that ultimate victory belongs to God and those who remain faithful to divine truth. No matter how powerful the rebellious Watchers and their technology may seem, they cannot ultimately triumph against the Creator of the universe. The Great Deception, spiritual or scientific? As we examine the evidence and testimony surrounding ancient texts like the Book of Enoch and modern phenomena like UFO encounters, we face a fundamental question about how to interpret these experiences. Are we dealing with spiritual realities involving angels and demons? Or are we dealing with physical realities involving extraterrestrial beings and advanced technology? This question is not merely academic. The way we answer it will determine how we respond to increasing reports of contact with non-human intelligences and how we evaluate the claims these beings make about themselves and their intentions toward humanity. Those who interpret these phenomena in spiritual terms argue that the beings described in both ancient and modern accounts are the same fallen angels or demons that have been interacting with humanity since the beginning of human history. According to this view, these entities are spiritual beings who can manifest in physical form when necessary, but their true nature and origin are supernatural rather than extraterrestrial. This spiritual interpretation suggests that what people call alien encounters are actually demonic deceptions designed to lead humanity away from God and towards spiritual corruption. The beings may claim to be from other planets or dimensions, but they are actually fallen angels who are continuing their ancient rebellion against God by corrupting and deceiving human beings. Supporters of this interpretation point out that many people who have close encounters with these beings report spiritual and psychological changes that seem negative rather than positive. Abductees often experience increased depression, anxiety, and spiritual confusion after their encounters. They may lose their faith in traditional religious beliefs and become obsessed with New Age or occult practices. The beings themselves often communicate messages that contradict traditional religious teachings. They may claim that there is no God, or that God is actually an evil being who has been deceiving humanity. They may teach that humans are gods themselves, or that salvation comes through knowledge and technology rather than through spiritual submission to divine authority. From this perspective, the advanced technology demonstrated by these beings is not proof that they are extraterrestrial visitors, but evidence of the supernatural powers that fallen angels possess. Demons have always been able to perform seemingly miraculous feats that human technology cannot duplicate. Their ability to fly, appear and disappear and manipulate physical matter is part of their spiritual nature, rather than evidence of superior science. On the other hand, those who interpret these phenomena in scientific terms argue that we are dealing with genuine extraterrestrial visitors who possess technology that is far more advanced than our own. According to this view, the beings described in ancient texts, like the Book of Enoch, were ancient astronauts who visited Earth thousands of years ago and influenced the development of human civilization. This scientific interpretation suggests that primitive humans interpreted advanced technology and extraterrestrial beings in religious terms because they lacked the scientific knowledge to understand what they were actually experiencing. What ancient people called angels, gods, and demons were actually alien visitors with superior knowledge and technology. Supporters of this interpretation point to the consistent descriptions of advanced technology in ancient texts. Flying vehicles, powerful weapons, genetic manipulation, and instant communication across great distances all sound like the products of advanced science rather than supernatural powers. They also point to the apparent interest these beings have shown in human genetics and reproduction. If the beings were purely spiritual entities, why would they be so focused on physical and biological processes? The emphasis on genetic manipulation suggests that they are physical beings who understand advanced biological science. From this perspective, the negative effects that some people experience after encounters with these beings may result from the trauma of contact with an alien intelligence rather than from demonic influence. The confusion and disorientation that abductees report could be natural psychological responses to experiences that are beyond normal human understanding.